Welcome back to Houselights, your one-stop shop for everything you need to hear about this week in the world of entertainment. As always, I'm your host, Liz Nass, joined by my beautiful, wonderful co-host,
Claire Donohoe.
And I just think women... Today we're going to talk about women and Women's History Month, and just some of our favorite women in entertainment, and books and movies and such.
Shows and everything.
There's a lot of women out there that we want to thank. Thank God.
Yeah, and just as a quick disclaimer, there are absolutely going to be some that we forget to thank or mention. These are just some of our personal favorites that we thought to talk about today, just off the top of our heads. So if you're watching and we don't mention you, we're sorry.
Yeah, and I feel like
nothing personal.
This, they're watching.
Right.
I think that this episode is like a really good, showcase for people who are like, name a woman, and then they can't name any women.
Also,
there's a lot of women on this list.
Take some recommendations from us on women in entertainment.
Since we are the final say,
obviously,
on women in entertainment. I think you should give a little bit of the fun historical background that you curated.
Some quick bullet points stolen from various places on the internet.
She did not cite her sources.
I didn't. I cited one. So I'll start with the quote. The overall consensus between 1929 and 2025, quote, of the 13,653 nominees at the Academy Awards since 1929, 17.6% were women and 82.4% were men. The ratio of men to women nominees was 5-1. 17% of all winners across the last 97 years were women, and less than 2% of nominees were women of color. That is from the inclusion list.
That's crazy.
And also just reinforces why we're talking about this today, and we should always be celebrating women in entertainment. So we're going to run through a couple of names. This is not a full, all-encompassing list, but I just thought this was interesting. The first woman to win a Daytime Emmy Award was Betty White. I didn't know that.
That's awesome.
I love Betty White, so I was really excited.
I love Golden Girls.
Yes.
Also, she was a game show host.
Yeah, that's what she won it for.
That's awesome.
Outstanding game show host. The first woman to win a Grammy Award was the wonderful Ella Fitzgerald. And then the first woman to win an Oscar at the first Oscars, I believe, in 1929 was Janet Gaynor, who unfortunately I'd never heard of prior to that, but now I know. In terms of records, Meryl Streep has the most Oscar nominations of all time, with 21 nominations and 3 wins. Katharine Hepburn holds the record for most acting Oscars with 4 wins, all for Best Actress. And then Ariana DeBose made history in 2022 as the first openly queer actor of color and the first Afro-Latina actress to win an Oscar.
I think it's interesting when you're like, yeah, the first Oscars, because like I feel like they've always had like an actor and actress category, and it's kind of weird that like the nominations were like 17.6% women, but it's like technically it was like
there should be a category
50% men, but then it's like okay, you bring in directing and all that, so like truly probably for a while it was like they were only nominated for like acting instead of like directing and costumes and all that stuff.
That's a good point. There also are things like the Women in Entertainment Gala held by the Hollywood Reports.
Hollywood Reporter.
Thank you so much. That was a typo on my end on my notes, so I'm glad to have you fix that for me. And then there's like, not collections. What's the word? Groups.
Organizations.
Thank you. Oh my God. Organizations like Women in Entertainment, Women in Media, like you can join nationally or like be a part of. If you're in that group. Nice. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a brief history. And by brief, I mean extremely brief. Because
just a couple
just a couple things to get us started here, because the main point of this episode is for me and Liz, of course, to share our very important pressing takes on women in entertainment. So you can continue looking up the history in your own time, as we encourage you to do.
And we're just going to start talking.
Let's begin.
So I don't know. The first thing is music, right? We want to talk about our favorite women in music. And you put down Olivia Rodrigo and how she uses her platform. I want to know a little bit about what you mean by that.
I like Olivia Rodrigo's music, and I also like how she utilizes her platform and stardom to talk about things going on in the world. I'd say from a fan perspective, it seems to me like her biggest topic that she uses her platform for is women's healthcare and abortion rights and such. And I feel like she's always kind of supporting like Planned Parenthood or something of that nature frequently on social media and at her tours. So I like that she uses her platform for that, and she just seems really cool. So that's really it. I just like her a lot.
That's really it. I want to put out first Lady Gaga. Mostly because I also want to talk about the album a little bit. So this is not actually, the topic is not actually women in media. It's me talking about Mayhem. But, sorry, changing it. Really, really great album. Have you listened to it yet?
I have not.
Have you listened to the singles? Like Disease or Abracadabra?
Oh, okay. Abracadabra, yes.
What'd you think of that?
I liked it.
That's awesome. I feel like you're not a Lady Gaga stan, though.
I'm not. Stan is a really, firm word there. I'm a fan of hers.
Yeah.
But I just watched, actually, her WMAG Exploring ASMR video.
Yes.
She was phenomenal.
God, she's so cool. I always think about her video of, I think it's with Vogue. She goes through, a bunch of her looks, and it's just, 45 minutes of her, explaining why each look was, pertinent to the era that she's in. And you know what? I love Taylor Swift so much. She's actually on my list, or actually Claire told me to put her on my list, because she thought that I was going to say.
I just said I'm surprised you haven't.
But I'm going to.
Put Taylor Swift.
But I feel like, low-key, Lady Gaga did the era before Taylor Swift did. Because Lady Gaga very much had distinct eras in her. I mean, I think that can be said about a lot of different artists. Mm-hmm. But, Lady Gaga did it before, Eras Tour and everything. Okay. And it's interesting with this album, she was saying that she's kind of sick of doing, eras of her music. Because, when she thinks about the Fame Monster and the Fame and Born This Way, she thinks about, very, dark pop, stuff like that. And then you get into art pop, and it's kind of weird and EDM-y. And then, art pop got such a bad review that she then went straight to country with Joanne. And then she decided to come back to pop and do Chromatica. That wasn't taken very well because it was kind of bubblegum poppy and not great. In my opinion, I don't really like Chromatica that much. And then Mayhem, now she was it's my return to dark pop, but she's also trying out a couple different things. She has a couple grungy, Perfect Celebrity and Disease and Abracadabra, I would say, are kind of her grungy Born This Way, the Fame Monster era. And then she switches in halfway through this album to songs like Killa and Zombie Boy. And they're kind of groovy. They're kind of 70s. And then she does her I feel on every album she has this really power ballad. And she does Blade of Grass at the end of it. And Die with a Smile is also on this album, which is very weird. That one, I actually don't support that being on the album because Die with a Smile is totally different era, but I guess again she's trying to get out of that. But Die with a Smile is just not what I think of when I think of Lady Gaga music. Well, then of course she had her Tony Bennett era, where she was doing jazz all the time. She kind of mixed Harlequin in that, which that's a separate story. We don't talk about Joker 2. And then her Star Is Born era when she was acting. And that, honestly, great music came out of that. Yeah. It was great.
Yes.
I love that soundtrack.
I recently saw that movie for the first time.
Really? What'd you think?
I really liked it. It was not what I thought it was going to be, but I guess I didn't really. That's a lie. I knew enough about it. I kind of knew what I was walking into, but I was still unprepared somehow for the emotional journey that I felt I was on. The music was really great.
Yeah, I want to watch the oldest Star Is Borns. I've just never gotten around to it. I think Judy Garland was in one, but I could be wrong. Don't listen to that. But yeah, I want to watch the old Star Is Borns. But I saw an Instagram. I'm sure you saw in my story. I was very upset. I saw an Instagram post that was Mayhem is the most critically acclaimed album now on Metacritic for Lady Gaga. And I was what? Because Mayhem's a good album. I think that there's maybe one or two skips on the album. Specifically, Vanish Into You, as well as Love Drug, I think, is probably the other one. I like everything else. Love the Beast is a standout. I feel like that one's very much buried in the album, but that's a really, really good one. But I don't think that Mayhem's her best album. I think that art pop is literally looking at you in the face, asking you, please give me the credit that I deserve, and then you don't do it. Art pop is a great album, and I feel among Lady Gaga fans, that is the album that got screwed over. And everyone's leave Chromatica and listen to art pop, because it's 10,000 times better. Anyways, it just got a really bad rap. She was working with like weird I watched like an 1.5 hour long video essay like a year ago on this. I just feel very passionate about it. And that album, no skips. One of my favorite albums of all time. Anyways. And then also, Born This Way is just like no skips. No skip album, Born This Way. So, anyways, for people to say that Mayhem is the most critically acclaimed, it's a great album. Don't get me wrong. I think she's coming back into her stride. But it's not the best album. Anyways, I think Lady Gaga is one of my favorite female performers. Yeah.
And
women.
We appreciate the passion that you have for Lady Gaga.
Yes.
I'm just going to rattle off a few. In addition to Olivia Rodrigo, I recently did a project on Stevie Nicks, and I spent a lot of time watching interviews and listening to her music for a class, and I just love her. I just think she's really cool. Beyonce, Adele, obviously, Chappell Roan, and then Doechii. I've really become a Doechii fan recently.
Doechii.
I think she's just awesome. I mean, need I say anymore?
That album is just, again, that's a no skip album.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
Our house has been listening to that album quite a bit. Recently. In that same vein, I want to add a couple to my list. Megan Thee Stallion. Mm-hmm. I want to throw out Flo Milli, who is about to have a baby.
Yes. Oh my God, really? Oh my God, Tate McRae. I just thought of that because Tate McRae and Flo Milli are on a song together.
Oh my God.
Tate's newest album.
I haven't listened to that album yet.
Oh,
do you want to give
talk about no skip?
Really?
That's a lie. I haven't heard a couple of the songs, so I don't know if it's no skip. But to me, Tate McRae is just...
where the album stops for you, because you haven't listened.
To me, Tate McRae is incredible. I think she's so great. And you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say that I've been with Tate McRae since she was posting covers on YouTube when we were in, like, middle school / early high school, because she's 21, which is also astounding to me. Yeah, so anyway, she's on a song with...
She's 21?
She's 21. She was born in 2004.
I have nothing to say to that.
Yeah. She's brilliant. Love her.
She was on... No, she wasn't. I was about to lie and say she was on Dance Moms.
No.
You know who was on Dance Moms? Tall Girl.
Yeah. This is true. This is true.
But Tate McRae was a dancer before, so that's why.
Yes.
But anyways.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And so her song Blood on My Hands with Flo Milli, and then Revolving Door, I would give those two a listen. Sports Car is great. Means I Care, also great. Just listen to the album, everyone. I feel very strongly about that. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
I will say, I think I gave Tate McRae a bad rap at first because when she first started releasing music, everyone was comparing her, being like, she's going to be the new Britney Spears.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about that.
Talk about women I love in this in music industry. I love Britney Spears.
Yeah. I
grew up with Britney Spears. The In the Zone album, I'm hitting my necklace, so sorry. It's going to be just like off the microphone. But the In the Zone album with Toxic on it, that whole album, talk about no skip album, In the Zone, 2003.
Boom.
Listen to it. But anyways, like, I was just like, you could not be Britney Spears, like, whatever. But Tate McRae, now that I've started listening to her music, she's pretty fire.
Yeah, and she is a pop performer. Diva. Yeah, she just, because the dance background, and she's good live, too, because she got her start from just posting, like, acoustic covers on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Shawn Mendes.
Kind of like Conan Gray.
We can't mention men right now.
No, I was about to say, the way you feel about Tate McRae, about, like, I've watched her since she was on YouTube, is how I feel about Conan Gray and Troye Sivan.
But that's for another episode.
Sorry, males. Get out of the room.
I'd like to also point out some, I don't want to say smaller artists, but just people that I think everyone should know about if you don't already. I'm going to say Jensen McRae. I'm going to say Katie Gregson McLeod. And I'm going to say Olivia Dean.
I've only heard of Jensen McRae because of you.
You must listen to her more. Like, non-negotiable. She's releasing something in the spring. I think it might take me out. Positive.
Some smaller art. Okay, if you're throwing out some smaller artists, I'm gonna throw
out some recommendations.
Leanna Firestone.
Okay.
Is one for me. I'm gonna throw out a brand new one that I just heard of. Hold up.
Oh my God.
On my Spotify.
Odie Lee. ODIELEIGH.
I did. Yes.
Top artist of 2024 for me. Well, top song.
Mercer Henderson is brand new. Almost So Close Maybe is a really great song. Recently I've been listening to a lot of Megan Maroney, who's like a country artist. She's great. I was trying to think because I had another one that was like sort of like underground. I don't know, I forgot. But someone, oh my god.
It's playing.
Oh my god, it's playing the musical about women's suffrage.
Wow.
Thank you, phone tie-in. Anyways, so what was I saying? Addison Rae.
She's not a small artist.
No, she's not. But I just wanted to give her a shout out because talk about a woman that came from the bottom and now is like not the bottom.
TikTok dancing is
TikTok
not the bottom.
dancing feels like it was the bottom. But like she's like now bigger than like Dixie and Charlie and all them. So boom.
Shall we move on to books?
Charlie XCX.
Oh, duh.
Sorry.
Books and journalists and writers in general.
I would love to.
Kick us off, please.
I would, yes, of course. I want to throw out a shout out to some female journalists that I really look up to. They all start with K's, which is really interesting, or 3 of them start with K's. Caitlin Collins on CNN.
Okay.
Love to see her coming. She's just so great. She asks great questions. Me and my roommate talk about her all the time. Katie Tur, she covered the first Trump campaign. And she wrote a really great memoir called Unbelievable, and everyone should read it. I think I literally read the book in one day because she's just like really good at just like talking about like her relationship with journalism after like sort of like the start of like the rise of like fake news and everything, and like, you know, this sort of thing that the Trump administration like didn't start but obviously capitalized off of like the fake news genre, and her working for I guess more like what people assume is left-leaning media. It was just really, really interesting. And then Classico, Katie Couric, great broadcast journalist. I'm not a broadcast person, obviously. Well, obviously I'm on a podcast right now, but I'm a print person. But I feel like when you're a kid and you like want to do the news, you're like, oh my god, I want to be like Katie Couric. So there's that. And then I want to throw out a former snoozer who is awesome, who is on ESPN, does great stuff, Jamel Hill. She also has her own memoir. But yeah, she's also super inspiring.
Yeah.
Your turn.
On the topic of broadcast, I'm going to quickly shout out, I don't know much about them, but I just grew up watching them, and I find such like a comfort from these 2 women. The hosts of the Today Show, which would be Savannah Guthrie, and Hoda. I love Hoda.
I was supposed to meet Hoda.
What?
In 2020.
Oh my god.
And I was going to this like journalism conference for high schoolers, and then the COVID happened.
Damn it.
And I didn't get to meet Hoda.
That's so sad, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
I see you added our fave.
I'm gonna come in with some authors. Mary Oliver, poet, writer, love. Ann Patchett. She's a novelist. She also writes like personal essays, and she was my first introduction to what a collection of like personal essays or like a more memoir style book could be. And she just holds a special place in my heart. Shout out to my good friend Molly Melnick, who recommended This is the Story of a Happy Marriage, which everyone should read. And I have given it to Miss Liz, who's currently
it's currently sitting on
reading.
Right, I'm reading it.
Right, she's currently reading it, obviously. And then we are both currently reading quite a bit of Joan Didion because we are in a Joan Didion class, and also because she did a lot for journalism, new journalism specifically, as a woman.
I've been loving reading
in the
stuff.
70s.
I'm almost, because like we read some of Slouching Towards Bethlehem for our
I read the whole
class. Claire read the whole thing. I'm working on reading the whole thing. I'm almost there. Okay. And then we're reading political fictions. We've read a little bit of just like one-off essays and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great writer. And I say as everyone else agrees and nods. It's like, oh Liz, what a crazy hot take that you like Joan Didion. Anyways, but yeah,
well, yes.
Insane writer. Well, yes.
And moving on to actors, directors, etc. Anything to do with shows or movies. I have a lot here. So I think I'm just going to like rapid fire list because many of these are just kind of like everyone should be nodding. Directors, Greta Gerwig. Need I say more? Thinking then about the entire cast, specifically the female cast of Little Women, just excellent. Some actors I just like. And if like they're doing an interview, they're guesting on a podcast, they're in a movie show, I'm seeing it. Forgot to say Kristen Bell, but she's on here. Anne Hathaway, Emma Stone, Amanda Seyfried, Emma Watson, Jennifer Aniston, Zendaya, Quinta Brunson, Io Adebri, Octavia Spencer, Viola Davis. I'll say Margot Robbie for Barbie. I think that did a lot for its time. And I will now say...
For its time, a year ago.
Right. Well, at the time, I mean, Barbie's a whole separate thing. But Margot Robbie being the face of Barbie, like, I mention her for that. Okay. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, just because I think that these are just like women that like, if you're in the bathroom and need a tampon, you don't even have to ask. They're sliding you on under the door.
Real.
They have a hair tie for you.
Yeah, say what you want about Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. They're gonna have your back.
They see you crying in public. They don't even say anything. They just put a loving hand on your shoulder and produce a tissue from their big, beautiful like bag that they're carrying with them. You know, I just feel like I'd be safe with all of these women from the variety of knowledge I know about all of them, which is not a ton. It's varied. I'd also like to talk about Oprah and how she revolutionized daytime TV. And my dad and I were talking about Oprah a couple of months ago, and he was explaining like Oprah's pull to me, because I remember Oprah being on as a young child, but obviously like not in the big wave. Like we weren't old enough to be like going to her shows and like sitting in the live audience, etc. And my dad was explaining it to me. He's like, yeah, if Oprah put it on the book list, it was getting read. And I'm like, so she was the original influencer of the time.
Yeah.
And he was like, yes, exactly. Like
Oprah's book club started like all those other like, book clubs, yeah.
Oprah promoted a brand of sunglasses, sold out on the site. Like just stuff like that. Also, I just think people felt very safe with Oprah. And I think from what I have seen of her show and like any interview she's been in, she just, she makes you want to answer her questions in a very like trusting and good way. So I just needed to shout out Oprah for TV general.
The way that you're talking about like, oh, she just like, it just makes people want to like answer her questions. I forgot to put this on the journalist list. That's how I feel about Barbara Walters. I grew up watching a lot of Barbara Walters interviews and fire. I mean, insane. So I want to shout out in this category a couple female directors, because you said Greta Gerwig, and I was like, you know, we were talking about there haven't been a lot of female directors that actually get a lot of, you know, recognition.
Right.
So I want to throw out Sofia Coppola is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I love Nora Ephron is a great, like, you know, back in the day comedy writer. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is someone that I also want to talk about in, like, actresses. She's amazing. I mean, she's been around forever, but she, like, has created some of, like, the most iconic characters. Like, I think about Seinfeld. I think about, like, Veep. Love her. I'm trying to think. I swear I had more female directors. But there was one other, like, sort of, like, lesser known, I guess, female director that I want to shout out. Her name is Jane... Wait, how do I say that? Jane Schoenbrunn. She directed I Saw the TV Glow and We're All Going to the World's Fair. And, like, We're All Going to the World's Fair, like, changed my life. Like, it was, like, it's just really great. I mean, I think once... Yeah, I mean, she's had, like, good production companies, like, pick them up. We're All Going to the World's Fair didn't get a lot of recognition. It was, like, very Sundancey, but then I Saw the TV Glow was getting a lot of recognition. I think that within the next 5 years, like, Oscar for directing.
Love it.
Like, I'm gonna put that prediction down now, Jane. If you want to, like, lock that in for, like, some sort of, like, hype up video for your Oscar campaign in the next 5 years, please do, because period.
Love it.
I want to talk about, in the same vein as I.O., I want to talk about Rachel Sennett, who has really just, like, I don't know, shown up for me. I love, like, she has shown up for me. I absolutely love her in Bottoms. I loved her in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I loved her in Shiva Baby. All of those movies, recommend, like, to the, like, big, like, the utmost extent. Like, love. I'm trying to think of other actor. I feel like I did a lot of directors.
There's gonna be so many that once this episode is done,
that I just, like, absolutely love. I'm gonna jump on with Zendaya, of course.
Just, like, I feel like outside of the PR and ways we experience them, I just also feel like I just would like to talk to Zendaya.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
a lot of people on this list, like, I like their work and I like what they've been in. And then from what I've seen of them, I'm gonna also put Millie Bobby Brown because I was just watching her on Call Her Daddy. And I also love her work. But just as a person, I'm like, I just like you. I just feel like it'd be good.
Yeah.
To chat with you.
I saw, can I go into, like, the other women we love really quick? Because I wanted to throw out there Emma Chamberlain, because you're talking about, like, that's, I mean, iconic. Influential for the young teenage girl.
And people, readjust my posture here.
Oh, wow.
People get on her case, or like they get upset with Emma Chamberlain, like she's too one-dimensional, or like she's boring, or not even that she's boring, but like just she gets critique in a way that I can't even fully describe because I think it's ridiculous. At the end of the day, whether or not you like her, or you still watch her videos when they come out, or you listen to her podcast, whatever it is, you cannot deny the grip she had on people our age.
No, literally.
Specifically young women our
like
age.
Fashion. She was 16 years old, like, making, like, every Rue 21, Forever 21, pick up all of her clothing.
Yes. She was, like, one of the main reasons I personally started thrifting and thinking that it was, like, a fun activity to, like, put
people
on your to-do list as something to do with friends.
Iced almond milk lattes.
Because of her.
Like,
she's a coffee shop
like, she, like, really?
Did you see? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
She has a coffee brand, but she just opened a store.
That's crazy.
Like a cafe.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry.
No, like,
I just love her.
And, like, people had, like, chapstick, like, stickers and stuff.
Yes.
Like, it was, I can't even describe the hold that she has. And here's the thing, like, people are, and this is universal to, like, all the women on this list, where she sort of fell into this, like, she was so popular and influential for, like, teenage girls around a certain time that when she started to grow up with us, people were like, oh, I miss the old Emma Chamberlain.
Yes.
I miss that, like, nostalgia factor. Well, she's growing with us.
Yeah.
You're not the same person you were when you were 16, 17. So why do you expect her to be?
Yeah.
It's just that she, all of a sudden, you're not parasocially being able to, like, connect with her because she is also changing.
Same goes with Millie Bobby Brown.
Right.
The title of the Call Her Daddy episode that she guests on is called Not 11 Forever. 11 in Stranger Things, but also a call to being like 11 years old, which she's like, I started my career a decade ago, and people either like can't understand that I've grown up and matured, or on the complete opposite side, they're like hypersexualizing me and like now doing a bunch of other like weird stuff. Like, why can't people just understand, like, I'm 21, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
I grew up from being 11. I'm also not 30, 40, like age dysphoria. People are having age problems with.
Yeah, well, people did that immediately with Billie Eilish.
Oh,
the minute she turned 18, they were like over-sexualizing her, and it's like, oh, you were just waiting for.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like when the parasocial relationships in general, but when they, pertain to women, there's a layer of like, I mean, this isn't a revolutionary new thought, but like, need we even really say like a layer of sexualization that comes into it as well, which I guess you can see for men too, but I feel like with women, it's always something that they have to address. Like Emma Chamberlain has addressed the whole, like, people keep saying they miss the old Emma. It's like, yeah, and I used to do those things, but now I do these things, and like, they don't owe you a certain type of content or production situation. Well, and I feel like they always have to address it, which like makes you feel bad. Like in every interview you see with like a younger woman who maybe started her career in entertainment a bit younger, there is going to be a question about, what's your response to fans wishing you did the old stuff still? Or, you know, the guest just brings it up on their own accord, but like, you don't see that as much with, a man does not feel as compelled or asked or anything to do something like that.
Right, and I think there's a really interesting part in, like, Taylor Swift's Netflix documentary where she's saying that, like, every couple years, like, you have to change who you are and be fresh and be new, or else, like, the world is gonna get bored of you.
Yeah.
And, like, they just, like, people don't ask the same of, like, male performers.
Well, yeah, they call it, like, consistent or, like, building your brand.
Right.
And then it's, like, when a woman does it, it's either you're changing too much or you're changing not enough.
Right.
You're too boring or you're too not giving us what we want from you. It's just, like, stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Talking about changing and branding, I saw you put Call Her Daddy on this
Yes.
list.
So I used to not be a huge fan of Call Her Daddy when it was, like, in its boom.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't for me. Now that Alex Cooper does it by herself and she's taken more of a interview approach, I have really liked it a lot more. And I like that I also am biased because I just like the guests that she pulls on the show. And recently I saw the Monica Lewinsky interview, which I saw you put Monica on here. And then, like I just keep saying, the Millie Bobby Brown interview. And then I've watched a couple more from, like, actresses from, like, Pretty Little Liars that have come back on. Like, Shay Mitchell was on, and, like...
Every Pretty Little Liars cast member should be on my
Hale.
list.
I love Lucy Hale. I love her. Anyway, so, yeah, I like what Alex Cooper's doing a little bit more now in comparison to what she was doing, like, 5-6 years ago with the whole, like, her and her co-host, and then I just like the era that it's in.
And I'm gonna say I love this era. I love that she's doing this. I think she's a very conversational interviewer. She's really, like, in her prime now. Like, I really think that, like, this is her stride as a podcaster. I was also a fan when it was a sex podcast. Like, I think that it's interesting when people are like, oh, well, she's just, like, she's totally changed her tune. She's way more feminist now. And it's like, who's to say that a woman talking about her sex life isn't just as feminist as pulling on? And, you know, there were, in the very early episodes, and she said this herself, there was some messaging that maybe was not exactly empowering to women. But it's like, but in a way, just her having that platform to kind of just explain her own sex life, whether that be all the time super feminist or, like, yeah, you know, I've done things that maybe aren't super feminist, and that is really a feminist thing.
I think she changed a lot of conversation about not just, like, sex between women feeling comfortable to share, but, like, publicly being able to engage in conversations and, like, normalizing it a bit. Yes, there was some ways in which she was doing so in kind of an extreme way, but at the end of the day, like, it brought her here. And she still has notes of that in her current episodes. I think now she also she has other types of, like, questions she asks her interviewees, but it's still traces of, like, the OG kind of, like, sex podcast she was going for. But I agree with you, like, you also just can't make everyone happy.
No, you can't.
Also, this just goes back to the thing that I feel like I'm constantly saying whenever I talk about her is, like, if you don't like it, just don't
consume it.
Don't consume it. Don't leave a hate.
People love being rage baited, though.
But it's like, don't leave a hate comment like, oh, Call Her Daddy's the stupidest podcast. How about you just take 5 minutes and find another one?
Or find a hobby.
Or stop hating women.
If you're hating on the internet or you're hating women, maybe you should just get a hobby. But
on the topic of podcasts, I'm going to say, which I feel like I say in every episode, Benchtopia. That's BINCHTOPIA with Julia Hava and Eliza McLamb. That podcast changed my life. I'm going to look you right in the eye when I say it. That podcast has changed
I still haven't listened
my
to one
life.
episode.
I was about to say that I have put almost every one of my close female friends onto Benchtopia. My roommates have started listening to it. My friends from home have started listening to it. Liz is going to start listening to it. Incredible. Right, Liz? You're going to start listening to it?
Yeah, I'm going to start listening to it. Just when I start reading that book that you gave me.
Yes. It's a culture commentary podcast, and they do a really great job of, like, taking, they do, like, advice sessions and, like, Reddit threads, and just, like, they laugh. They're just funny. But they also do more, like, the historical side of a concept, or, like, a social norm, if you will. They teach you about it, and then they kind of apply it very seamlessly into a real-world application. So I'm learning, I'm laughing, I'm getting a feel for what we're talking about. I'm walking away empowered. Also, their lingo is incredible. Just, you have to listen to it. Everyone has to listen to it. I'll never stop talking about it, ever.
I want to throw out something that we didn't have on our notes really
Please.
quick. Female athletes.
Oh.
And I specifically don't watch a lot of sports, but I really love tennis, so I want to throw out also just one of my favorite like celebrities. As far as athletes go, I really love Coco Gauff. I find Coco Gauff so interesting. She's so like, I don't know, she's just like so cool and like sweet, but also like kind of a badass whenever she talks.
Well, yeah.
She's so unapologetically her, and she's so young. She's like, I think she's like 22. So yeah, Coco Gauff, insane. I really like Sablanka. She's I don't remember what country she's from. She's not a U.S. tennis player. And then of course Venus Williams. I'm gonna throw out there. I also want to throw out the Olympic lady that blew up, Ilona Mayer.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Also on Dancing with the Stars.
Yes. She's great.
She's great. I think did you see that interview clip where someone asked her a woman actually asked her, how does it, do you ever have like, basically beats around the bush to say imposter syndrome or something. And Anna's like, I actually just like don't have that. Just like full stop. And the interviewer's like, wow, like and she's like almost trying to get her to admit that she does, because it's expected that a woman in such quick social and athletic success might feel that way. Strange. And she was like, yeah, no, like I know in my heart that everything I've worked for this, so it's happening, and not in like a rude, snippy way.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the clip justice, but it was awesome. Like her messaging around feeling bad for taking up space in an athletic or social situation is very powerful, and I feel like I'm glad that she says what she says on that topic.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then I just want to throw out one that's in the modeling world that I really love. I really love Alex Consani.
Yeah.
She's so funny. Like her looks insane, but then like her social media presence and like her during interviews, she's like actually one of the most like funny, entertaining people I've ever seen ever.
Love it.
Yeah. I can't think.
I'm thinking of
Nicole Kidman.
Oh, I'm gonna say.
Sorry, I was just thinking about her.
I'm thinking about Daisy Edgar Jones right now.
Wow.
I'm also thinking about Olive Boy Genius. We didn't mention them.
Oh, that's good.
There's so many women that do so many great things and that support other women publicly, behind the scenes. It's incredible stuff.
It's incredible stuff.
I say this like, some people don't know that though, and they don't care to learn. And that's why we're here today, to tell you about our favorite women in entertainment.
We're actually an educational podcast.
We're actually an educational podcast, and we're talking about
women.
Things you should know.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts?
I don't think so.
Women in general?
I guess the other thing I want to throw out is like there's so many movies that and like books and just media in general that like captures the female experience so well that I feel like it's hard for me to even like throw out like so many like but like find those and consume them.
Yes.
Because like I'm immediately thinking of like The Farewell, because it's about like a woman who's dealing with her grandmother is dying, and that's just like that will be like one of my biggest like movie recommendations of all time. The Farewell. It's amazing. But there's so many movies, so much media out there that like captures it, and if you're a man, you should watch it because female experience is important to know about. But also when you are a woman, that you just feel seen and heard and
like so many coming of age. Like I'm thinking about like Lady Bird. I'm thinking about 8th grade. Edge of 17. Is that what that one is?
Yes. Yeah. Bo Burnham directed it.
Yeah, and then Edge of 17 with Haley.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then have you seen My Old Ass?
Oh, that is so good.
I have not seen it, but I need to see it.
I recommend that. Yeah.
So many movies that are like both lighthearted in dialogue, perhaps, but like not so much in topic or content.
I could just keep going because I was like, and Girls, the show Girls on HBO Max. I love that show.
There's so many. Even the show, one of my favorite shows, Jane the Virgin, like that, like matriarch situation going on. You have like the grandma, the mom, and then Jane, and like those three women like dominate the show, and the plot line in such a beautiful way. And I don't know, like there's just so many Not even just shows where women are acting, but like shows about women. Just be a conscious consumer.
Big Little Lies. I was thinking about Nicole Kidman. Amazing female actresses on that show. Zoe Kravitz, Reese Witherspoon. We have to stop at some point.
One thing I will say that I just came to my mind. One of my favorite shows is New Girl. Okay, and New Girl to me is super. I mean, to me and thousands of others, super funny. And I learned that is because a woman wrote the show. So also
female writers.
So when you're laughing at a show, when you're having a great time experiencing media, Google who was behind this. And it's going to be a woman.
It's going to be a woman. I think that's a great point to wrap up on, Claire.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming through this journey with us.
It was a long journey.
A long journey, and yeah, we had the giggles right before this, so if we seemed a little bit like out of it, just know that
it's just female joy.
It's God. Thanks for watching Houselights, guys. Bye.
Bye.